And somehow that the moon, they stole our style and gave it to Rothschild. Now we exalt the vow, but hit the turnstile. YAH'S Nabi set the crooked things straight. Praise YAH from the rising to the evening to the closing the gates, exposing the fake. YAH give the truth a daybreak. Now the liars can't escape and the haters can't relate to the light that truth make. See the wicked's pride deflate. Ye adore YAH, magnify YAH, cause he's great. Teaches
Shalom, shalom. Giving all honor, all glory, and all praises to the Holy One of Israel. Yah is righteous, Yah is holy, and let Yahweh be magnified. It is a great honor to be able to give praises to the Most High in the little sanctuary that He has set for His people. I am your host this evening, Mowreh ObediYAH YIsraEL, of the House of YIsraEL, located in 1907 Vine Street. And this is nothing but the truth. And we're giving all honor, all glory, and all praises to the Holy One of Israel, whose name alone is Yahweh. Now, who is Yah? Well, Yahweh is the creator of the heavens, the earth, the sea, and all that in them is. Yahweh is the Savior and the Redeemer of not just Israel, but of the entire world. And Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our judge, and Yahweh is king. And He alone will save us. So we give all honor, glory, and praises unto the mighty one of Israel, whose name alone is Yahweh. And let me say shalom to all of our family that's listening via the internet, whether it be Facebook or YouTube. For we know that the only reason why you're tuned in is because of your fear and your love towards the mighty Yah, our Elohim. And we're having some technical issues, so if you're tuned in and you can't hear the audio or anything's wrong, just please let us know, and we will try to alleviate the problem as soon as possible. But what we will be discussing this evening is an interesting subject, and it's a continuation because I was blessed to be a part of a discussion being had about the liberation of the captivity of Yehudah. And it was some very interesting, dynamic questions that was placed on the floor. And it was one that came with much meditation. It's one that came with much consideration for the answers that was brought forth and the answers that was to be brought forth. And that's what we will be discussing this evening. Because Yahweh is an Elohim of order. Yahweh is an Elohim of perfection. Yahweh is an Elohim of works. And Yahweh has had this recorded in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. And in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, and the 15th verse, it reads, "That which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been. And Elohim required that which is past." So that's the subject that we're dealing with. That will be, because that which have been is happening now, and that which is to be has already been. And Elohim required that which is past. So this plight that the service of Yahweh are going through, this plight that the nation of Israel are going through, is something that is new to our eyes, new to our ears, new to our experience. But this is just yesterday's news, according to thus saith Yahweh. For everything that is happening, for everything that will happen to our people is happening now. And everything that which has already happened, it's already done passed. For that which is to come has already passed, according to thus saith Yahweh. And what does Yahweh require? Yahweh requires that which is past. And one of the questions that were asked at the conference, one of the questions that was brought forth at the conference, is saying that Yehudah will be freed first. It says, what impact will Yehudah have on world affairs? And I thought this was a quite dynamic conversation to be had, because what impact will happen on world affairs according to the releasing of the tribe of Yehudah? And why is Yehudah being released? Because Yehudah is the 4th tribe. And if you've been following the lessons that have been taught, then you should know order. And the tribe of Yehudah they're the 4th born. They're the 4th tribe. And the 4th tribe is the praises of Yahweh. And it will only be befitting that since the praises of Yahweh didn't go forth from the tribe of Yehudah, that they will be captured first, that they will be enslaved first. And all this was already prophesied by the all-seeing eye of the Most High. This isn't no psychic stuff. This isn't none of this funny book stuff that these little funny books conjure up. This was all prophesied by the true and living Elohim. Yahweh said this in the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter. And in the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the 13th and 14th verses. And it reads, "And this is a vision that Yahweh gave unto our forefather Abraham, who was named Abram at the time." And this is the first vision that you can read about Yahweh giving to his servant. And look at what this vision entailed. Look at what this vision detailed. It says in the book of Genesis, the 15th chapter and the 13th verse, it says, "And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance." Now, why was this a prophecy given to our forefather? Why was this expressed? Surely Yahweh wasn't talking about our people being in Egypt, because Yahweh gave a number to this affliction. And Yahweh said that we will be afflicted 400 years. And Yahweh said that we was in the land of Egypt for 430 years. But never did Yahweh say we were afflicted 430 years. Yahweh specifically gave the judgment and said we will be afflicted 400 years. And why is this important? Why is this relevant? What did this do to the world? Well, what this did to the world is it created a house of bondage from the four corners of the earth. It doesn't matter whether you go to the Americas or to the islands. It don't matter whether you go to North America or South America. You're going to see our people being oppressed in the four corners of the earth. And you're going to see our people being in hard bondage in the four corners of the earth. And you're going to see our people building up cities, towers, and amusement parks, houses, furniture. Everything in the world has to offer today, you're seeing it being built off of the back of Yahweh's servant. And Yahweh was the first one to let you know that this affliction was going to come upon Yah's people, that this affliction was going to come upon the seed of Abraham, our father. Yahweh was letting it be known that this affliction was going to be for a time and a season. And my people, if you don't realize that this affliction that the children of Israel, the tribe of Yehudah is going under, is just for a time and a season, then you truly don't know Yahweh. Because you don't know that Yahweh deals in judgment. You don't realize that Yahweh, everything that Yahweh has said, he will do. Yahweh said this in the book of Isaiah, the 40th chapter. Since people want to know, well, what did this have to do with world events? What is this going to have to do with Yehudah being ensnared and being captured? Well, Yahweh said that he did. Israel is embalmed in the hands of the Most High. Yahweh said that Yehudah will be saved first. You think that Yahweh will have this thing happen and have no consequences of what's to take place? Absolutely not. And this is what Yahweh has left to be recorded. This is what Yahweh has left to be remembered by our people. This is what Yahweh said is to come. Because Yahweh has already stated what will be. In the book of Isaiah, the 40th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the very first verse. And it reads, Comfort ye, my people, saith your Elohim. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, that her wayfare is accomplished, and that her iniquity is pardoned. For she have received Yahweh's hand double for all her sins. The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of Yahweh, and make straight in the desert a highway for our Elohim. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. And the glory of Yahweh shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of Yahweh have spoken it. Yahweh said, look, you think that you just deserted. You think that you're just desolate. You think that you're just in the waste howling desert and that there's none that can deliver you. Yahweh said, look, you in the waste howling desert, make a highway for Yahweh. And Yahweh said that the voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yah. Because Yahweh is going to make the valleys be exalted, and the mountains shall be made low. So he's going to overturn and overturn and overturn. And you're going to see all those that was on high be brought down low. And you're going to see all those that were low be brought up high. Because Yahweh is going to make the crooked things straight. And this is what it's going to have on the world events, is the fact that everything is going to be overturned. Right now, the oppressors are ruling the oppressed. Yahweh said he's going to make it so that will no longer be in effect. Yahweh said that his people will be a tail and not the head. Well, Yahweh is going to make that to that's of no effect. Yahweh said that these nations will pursue us and overtake us until we are destroyed. Well, Yahweh said that these things will no longer be in effect, because that which has been is now. And that which will be has been. And Yah requires that which is past. Just like Yahweh liberated our people from the snares of Egypt. Just like Yahweh delivered our people out of the snares of Babylon. Yahweh will deliver his people out of the snares of the captivity that we are in today. And this very day. And Yahweh has said, look, I don't care where you are. You could be in the waste howling desert with no food, with no water, with no type of sense of security. All you have to do is prepare the way for Yahweh and make straight a highway in the desert. And Yahweh said, you as the valley, you will be exalted. And every mountain and every hill shall be made low. So all the nations that have made their works off of us, that have benefited off of us, that have became enriched off of us, Yahweh said this will cease to be no more, because the mountains will be brought down low, and the valleys shall be brought down high. This is the words of the true and living Elohim. Yahweh was letting our father Abraham know this from the beginning to let you know that there will be a time when his people will be coming into captivity, and that Yahweh's people will be ensnared by their captives. But Yahweh said, make a way for him, and Yahweh will show you his glory. Yahweh will show you by oppressing you what type of effects that this will have on the world, and the effects that have been taking place in the world by Yehuda being captured and ensnared and enslaved has been a big impact on the world, period. Because you know what happens? Now the world operates off of oppression. The world defends its right to keep you oppressed. The world defends its right to keep you blind. The world defends its right to make you blind and murder you. The world defends itself in the misjustice. The world defends itself in setting up leaders that stand for your bloodshed. The whole world is ran off of oppression. But Yahweh is a liberator. You won't meet a liberator bigger than Yahweh. Yes, they making movies about Harriet Tubman. Yes, this sister was strong. Yes, this sister was diligent. Yes, this sister was headstrong about releasing her people. But you won't meet no one stronger than Yahweh when it comes to the liberation of his people. And Yahweh has already proclaimed, Yahweh has already prophesied, and Yahweh has already put it into work for the redemption of his people. And just like Yahweh said that we will be enslaved and afflicted for 400 years, Yahweh said that we will come out with great substance. Great substance. We won't come out with just nickels and pennies, like what they want to argue about on the Senate. They won't be cutting no $100 million check. What's $100 million to a person that's been afflicted 400 years? That's had their land snatched from them. That's had their family snatched from them. That had their identity snatched from them. What is $100 million compared to this? Here you see in the news this week where the family of Eric Garner, they just celebrated I believe it was the 5th anniversary of this man's death. And the New York State had settled with the family of Eric Garner. I believe they settled and gave them over $6 million. But not one single officer will be charged for the responsibility of this man's murder. And now his daughter, who was a teenager then, is a grown woman now, is fighting for justice for the slaying of her father. Because at the end of the day, what is money? What is this money that they tossing in front of you going to do for the liberation of your people? What is these trinkets that they try to toss in front of us going to do for the liberation of our people? Well, I tell you, very little, nothing. Because what Yahweh requires is far more bigger than the check being cut. Far more bigger than the brick of gold being given. What Yahweh is requiring the liberation of his people Turn with me to the books of Isaiah, the 49th chapter. In the book of Isaiah, the 49th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the 22nd verse. Isaiah 49 verse 22 reads, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, Behold, I will lift up my hands to the Gentiles. And this is not Yahweh lifted up his hands to be like, oh, you naughty nation. No, this is Yahweh's wrath coming to these nations. And Yahweh said that he will set up his standard to the people. And they shall bring your sons in their arms, and your daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be your nursing fathers, and their queens your nursing mothers. And they shall bow down to you with their faces toward the earth, and lick up the dust of your feet. And thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. But shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith Yahweh, even the captive of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contendeth with you, and I will save your children, and I will feed them that oppress you with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood, as with sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that I am Yahweh, I am Yahweh, your Savior, and your Redeemer, the mighty one of Yaakov. My people, this is what it's going to take on the world effect. This is what effects is going to be on the world affairs. All these kings and queens, all these presidents, all these senators and governors, all these nations that have set up positions of power to make us a prey, Yahweh said, look, they're going to be your nursing fathers and your nursing mothers. And they're going to carry you on their shoulders and in their arms. They're going to return you back to your land. They're going to bless you in the way. Because what Yahweh is going to do, he's going to utterly destroy the nation that's been oppressing our people. So what will Yehudah, being free, have on world affairs? It's going to have, this is the world affair. This is all about the nation of Israel. This is about the nation of Yehudah, the tribe of Yehudah. This affliction that's been taking place, how do you think that these nations have gotten their wealth? How do you think that these nations have gotten their strength? How do you think that these nations have formed their armies? How do you think these nations have formed their corporations? All off the oppression of Yahweh's people. And Yahweh said, when you are liberated, the bonds are broken. Because that's what Yahweh is. He is a liberator. Yahweh said that I am Yahweh, your Elohim, which have brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other Elohims besides me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images or any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. And thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh thy Elohim, am a jealous Elohim. Yahweh said, I'm jealous because who going to liberate you the way I'm going to liberate you? Who's going to free you the way that I'm going to free you? Who's going to bring you out of the house of bondage like I'm going to bring you out of the house of bondage? And truly, no one has, and no one will. Because if it could be done, it would have been done. You would have seen it been done with Malcolm X. You would have seen it been done with Marcus Garvey. You would have seen it been done with Martin Luther King. You would have seen it been done with all these civil rights leaders and all these movements that's done came. But all you see is just a falling to the ground. These plans are falling to the ground. Why? Because truly our people don't even know what it means to be liberated. Truly our people don't know what it means to be free. They think that they're free now. You think that you're able to go out and picket and march on the streets, Did that show that you free? No, all that's doing is just putting a mark on your back. A bigger target is bigger than the one that's already on it. But when Yahweh liberates you, when Yahweh saves you, when Yahweh redeems you, there are no more targets because all your targets are decimated. And all they want to do is just thrust you out because what they want is the wrath of Yahweh to stop coming upon them. Turn with me to the book of Isaiah, the 66th chapter. And we're going to see what the wrath of Yahweh is going to look like and why they're going to be so willing to do this. In the book of Isaiah, the 66th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the 19th verse. Isaiah 66 verse 19 reads, it says that I will set a sign amongst them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, and Lud, that draw the bow to Tubal and Javan, and to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory amongst the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahweh out of all nations upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain, Jerusalem, saith Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahweh. Yahweh saying, look, I'm going to free Yehudah first. But this deliverance is going to be so great that the nations that's left, they going to bring your brothers and sisters in for an offering. And they going to bring them in a great abundance, in camels, in horses, in litters, in mules. All type of modes of transportation just going to be continually bringing in our people from afar. All because Yehudah is redeemed first. Because once Yehudah is redeemed, and once the salvation is brought to Yehudah, the bonds are broken. The praises of Yahweh can go forth. The praises of Yahweh can issue out like the streams of waters of righteousness. So what impact will this have on world events? This is going to be history in the making. Something like we as a nation has never seen. See, we heard about what Yahweh did in Egypt. We saw the movies, and we heard about the fame of Yahweh in Egypt. But Yahweh knows that it's a generation that didn't hear about that. It's a generation that didn't see that. And Yahweh said He's going to do something far more greater. And we're going to read later what Yahweh is going to do that's greater. But this is what Yahweh will cause to happen. They're going to bring in our people on all modes of transportation for an offering unto Yahweh. And Yahweh said, then He will take for Him priests and for Levites, saith Yah. Yahweh said that these things are going to take place because this is what Yahweh will cause to happen. This is the now. This is what Yahweh is showing the world. And the vast majority of the world don't see it because the vast majority of y'all servants don't see it. We think we always go be captives. We think we always go be enslaved. We think that we always going to be in the house of bondage. But if you think that, and if you're under the impression of that, then you truly don't know your Elohim. Because that's what the nations want you to believe. That's what the nations will want you to be under the impression. Because the nations feel like this. Turn with me to the book of Jeremiah, the 49th chapter. Because the nation that has oppressed us and the nation that has stabbed for our blood, man, they don't They have absolutely no remorse of what they're doing. Matter of fact, Yahweh said that it's crafty counsels is what they have taken. They get together with one consent, and that's to cut off the nation of Israel from being the nation forevermore. So they want to cut off the nation of Israel because why? They're trying to cut off the praises of Yahweh. And Yahweh had this as a witness and a testimony. In the book of Jeremiah, the 49th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the 20th verse. And it reads, "Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh, that he have taken against Edom, and his purposes, that he have purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall, and at the cry of the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. Behold, he said, come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Basra. And in that day shall the heart of the mighty man of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs." Yahweh is letting you know the first tabernacle that stood for us being cut off as a nation was the tabernacle of Edom. This was the tabernacle that stood up and wanted to see your blood shed. That stood for us getting kicked out of the land. That stood for our people being sold into bondage. And what did they do? They took what Yah had blessed them with, and they used that to oppress Yahweh's people. And now Yahweh said this will take place no more. It said the earth will be moved at the noise of the fall and of Edom, and that the cry thereof was heard like in the Red Sea. And he shall come up and fly as eagles and spread his wings over Basra, and that the day of the heart of the mighty man of Edom shall be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. So just like you hear a woman just in travail, when she about to give birth, this is how you're going to hear the nation of Edom. Because this is the nation that stands for the destruction of our people, just like the tabernacles of Ishmael. This is what Yahweh is setting forth. This is what Yahweh is bringing forth. Yahweh is saying that this will take place no more. I'm going to destroy your captives. And you're going to know that there's only one Elohim in the earth. And the earth will know. The people that's in the earth will know that there's only one Elohim. And they're going to serve Yah. Every knee will bow, and every tongue shall swear. Because what Yah is standing for is liberation. See, Yahweh is going to show the world what liberation and what freedom truly looks like. Right now it's just a cliche. Right now it's just a fancy saying. Right now it's just something that people say. Well, man, this is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. No, Yahweh is going to show you what the land of the free and the home of the brave looks like. Yahweh is going to show you what liberation looks like. Yahweh is going to show the world what it means to let the captives go free and to burst his bonds. And Yahweh is going to show what it means to sever a people unto himself, and for him to be our Elohim, and for us to be his people. Yahweh is going to show this before the whole world. Turn with me to the book of Genesis, the 49th chapter. And what are we discussing? What will be? And what impact will Yehudah have on world affairs? See, Yah doesn't do anything on a small scale. Yah doesn't do anything that it's just a group of people can get together and whisper about, like, did you hear what Yahweh did? Like, no. These things are felt worldwide. Yahweh liberated the nation of Israel from the land of Egypt. They haven't been the same since. Yahweh took his people out of Babylon. Babylon hasn't been the same since. So when Yahweh takes his people out from the midst of the daughters of Babylon, this nation will never be the same ever before. No more. No more would it be the same. Because it's not even going to stand. But this is what takes place. Whenever Yahweh redeems his people, the nations is never the same. They know exactly who the head is, and they know exactly who's the tail. They know exactly who's leading the charge and those who are following the charge. Because this is what Yahweh stands for. Yahweh stands for liberation. And Yahweh let this be known. Yahweh let this be prophesied. Yahweh let this be magnified in his book. Yes, there are 12 tribes. But in particular, there's one tribe that has to be redeemed first. Because there's one tribe in particular that shows forth the praises of Yahweh throughout the entire earth. So if the praises of Yahweh are encamped, if the praises of Yahweh are in prison, then how can all the other nations be free? But in the same token, the same judgment that's on the house of Yehudah is not on the same as the tribes of Israel. And I praise Yah that I've been a part of these lessons and was able to see that. Because for years, I did think that it was all one box. I did think that the children of Israel, we just all in it together. But no, Yahweh separated. Because once Yahweh's praises has been muzzled, then what do you got? How you going to bring forth the law? How you going to bring forth the testimony? How you going to stand strong and be very courageous when the praises of Yahweh are entrapped, are in prison, are snared in holes and in prison houses? All over the place, the praises of Yah are being oppressed and being muffled. So Yahweh said, no, before anything is released, my praises has to go forth. And I have to let my light shine. And Yahweh let this be known in the prophecy that he gave to his servant Israel. He prophesied on all 12 of his sons. And he let them know what type of judgment will fall upon them. And it's all different judgments. It's different judgments. They're not the same. That's how you know that Yahweh's word is the truth, because Yahweh's word is consistent. And look at the prophecy that Yahweh left for Yehudah. In the book of Genesis, the 49th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the 8th verse. In the book of Genesis, the 49th chapter, and the 8th verse, it reads, Yehudah, you are he whom thy brethren shall praise, and thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies, and your father's children shall bow down before you. Yehudah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Yehudah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Yahweh is letting you know that even coming through Yehudah, Yahweh said these things will take place when Shiloh come, and the gathering of the people shall be. So you looking for something that's going to take place in the world. Well, you just want to see what type of world affairs is going to take place. You just sit and wait and have a front row seat to see what happens when Yehudah is redeemed first. You're going to see riches converted over. You're going to see bondage and chains broken. You're going to see the tail be made the head again. You're going to see nations flee from before the face of the true and living Elohim, because now the praises of Yahweh will be redeemed in the earth. And you're going to have a righteous ruler. And you're not going to have to vote. You're not going to have nobody sit and cast no ballot box for you. This has all been ordained. See, this is what happens when you praise Yahweh. When you praise Yahweh, everything is laid out for us. We got a king, both for flesh and in spirit. We got wealth, both in physical and in spirit. We got strength, both in physical and in spirit. And we got freedom, both in physical and in spirit. Because Yahweh's praises are flowing is out through the entire earth. And this is what Yahweh said will take place. Turn with me to the book of Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. In the book of Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, I'm going to start reading at the first verse. And it reads, "The word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Yehudah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the last days, that the mountain of Yah's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, and to the house of the Elohim of Yaakov. And he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge amongst the nations, and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords in the plowshares, and their spears in the pruning hooks. And nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore." See, this is what happened when the praises of Yahweh are set free. Because the house of Yahweh has to be built. The house of Yahweh has to be established so the law can go forth, so the testimonies can go forth. And then the nations will beat their swords in the plowshares and pruning hooks. No more war. Like you see murders happening in the street every other day in the various cities. Every day, a body's dropping due to violence. Yahweh said that this will take place no more in the streets. So you want to know what type of impact that will happen in world affairs of Yehudah being freed first? Well, you got to know how important it is for Yahweh's praises to be free. Because Yahweh is requiring what is now. And this is going to happen. And this is going to take place. And this is what Yahweh has said will take place. And this is the judgment that Yahweh has for the nations that have oppressed Yahweh's people. In the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter. In the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, and the very first verse, it reads, "For Yahweh will have mercy on Yaakov, and will yet choose Yisrael to set them in their own land. And the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Yaakov. And the people shall take them, and bring them to their place. And the house of Yisrael shall possess them in the land of Yahweh, for servants and for handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whom captives they were. And they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass, in the day that Yahweh shall give you rest from your sorrow, and from your fear, and from the hard bondage, wherein thou was made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, How have the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased? Yahweh have broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. And he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hindereth. And the whole earth is at rest, and is quiet, and they break forth in the singing. This is what will take place in world affairs off of Yehudah being freed. You no longer have to worry about being a captive, because Yahweh is going to take the captives, of whom captive we were. this is what I say. Yahweh is all about liberation. Yahweh is all about freedom. Yahweh not just about a bunch of chatter. Yahweh not just about a bunch of talk and say, man, I want to see my people free. No, Yahweh is going to cause his people to be free. Yahweh said, I want my people to live good because Yahweh going to cause his people to live good. And all we got to do is seek the old path and ask wherein in the path of wherein we should go. And Yahweh has showed us what path or wherein we should go. Yahweh has showed us what path wherein we should follow and what path should we walk in. We walking in the path that Yahweh is setting for his people to be liberated, to be free, to have your own land and not have to depend on your captives because they're going to be captives. Whom captives you were. This is what impact is going to have on world affairs because this is what Yah is requiring. This is what's going to take place because Yahweh requires that which is now. Turn with me to the book of Zechariah, the 1st chapter. In the book of Zechariah, the 1st chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the 15th verse. And Zechariah 1:15 reads, And I am very sore displeased with the heathens that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Because that's what the wicked do. They not enter in liberation. They enter furthering the affliction. But verse 16 says, Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies, and my house shall be built in it, saith Yahweh of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Yahweh said that his house is going to be built in his mercies, and the line is going to be stretched upon Jerusalem. Order will be restored. The captives will be let free, and the praises of Yahweh will go forth from the midst of the earth. This is what it will look like with Yehudah being freed first. This is what it will look like and take place happening on world affairs, because this is now, because this is what Yahweh is requiring. And all we have to do is get ourselves ready. All we have to do is try to get ourselves prepared. And no, it's not going to be a cakewalk. No, it's not going to be a hop, skip, and a jump. Yes, it's going to be hard times. But Yahweh said that none shall be disappointed that wait on him. The second question that was asked at the conference is, what will be the economic impact that will take place in the 400-year captivity? And how will reparations be handed out? And there was some beautiful scriptures that was brought forth. It was some beautiful testimonies showing how Yah's reparations will be doled out to his people. But the reparations that will be handed out is not like the reparations of what our people are expecting and what our people are fighting for, because they're trying to fight for some big check. They're trying to fight for a fleet of SUVs and Louis Vuitton shoes and Gucci belts and a bunch of vanity. No, our reparation will go towards the building of Yahweh's house, because Yahweh's praises has to go forth. Because far too long, Yahweh's praises have been muffled. They've been ensnared. They've been in prison. It's time for Yahweh's praises to go forth. And as we were reading in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter and the 15th verse, in Ecclesiastes, 3rd chapter, 15th verse, that which has been is now, and that which is to be have been already. And Elohim required that which is past. Don't you know that the same way that they wanted to keep you captive is the same way that they wanted to keep us captive in Egypt, the same way that they wanted to keep us captive in Babylon. These things aren't new under the sun. Maybe that's why a lot of our people are confused. And they're under the impression that this captivity has happened already. Well, in some ways, you are right. It has happened already. Because none of the nations that's ever entrenched our people wanted to let us go. None of the nations that has oppressed our people ever wanted to let us go. They've always wanted to keep us ensnared. They've always wanted to keep us in prison. They've always wanted to kill us off. But time after time, Yahweh has liberated us. And Yahweh has always caused us to leave out with a high hand and with great substance. Turn with me to the book of Exodus, the 14th chapter. In the book of Exodus, the 14th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the 5th verse. And it reads, "And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, Why have we done this, that we have let YIsraEL go from serving us? And he made ready his chariots, and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with a high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them, encamping by the sea, besides Paharoth, and by Baal-zephon." See, so you think that it's going to be a cakewalk when Yahweh lets his people go free? That the nations are just going to smile and say, I'm so glad that for them to get their 40 acres and a mule. No. Because once the oppressed are let free, the clock stops for the oppressors. The increase stops for the oppressors. The wealth and living in the fat stops for the oppressors. So now they're going to know, man, we don't got nobody to oppress. No, we got to go get them back. And that's exactly how the nations are going to feel. They're going to try to pursue us. They're going to try to destroy us. But just like Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, and just like he hardened the heart of these men and women that set up today, surely Yahweh will bring destruction on those that touch the apple of his eye and refuse to let the oppressed go free. Because this is what our Elohim stands for. Turn with me to the book of Isaiah, the 60th chapter. In the book of Isaiah, the 60th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the first verse. And it reads, "Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of Yahweh is risen upon you. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But Yahweh shall arise upon you, and his glory shall be seen upon you. And the Gentiles, the nations, shall come to your light, and the kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together. They come to you. Your sons shall come from afar, and your daughters shall be nursed at thy side, that you shall see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because of the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto you. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto you, and the multitude of camels shall cover you. The dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, all they from Sabah shall come, and they shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of Yahweh. Now you see why Yehuda have to be released first? Because once this takes place and the nations will be brought down, the nations got to show forth the praises of Yahweh. And it says, all the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto you. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto you, and they shall come up with acceptance on my altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. This is what Yahweh has intended. This is what Yahweh has planned. This is the reparation of what Yahweh's people will see. Because Yahweh's house has to be built. Because Yahweh's praise have to be shown and brought forth. And the people that's going to be released is going to do exactly that. They're going to show forth the praises of Yahweh. They're going to set up a standard. They're going to show you this is how you praise the true and living Elohim. And look at what it says in verse 15. It goes further. It says, whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through you, I will make you an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. And thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt suck the breast of kings. And thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, am your Savior, and the Redeemer of the mighty one of Yaakov. For brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood brass, and for stone iron, and I will make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. And violence shall no more be heard in the land, wasted nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. Now you know why it's important to show forth the praises of Yahweh. This is what the reparations look like. This is what a redeemed people will look like. And you're going to have officers, but not these corrupt officers that's walking the streets today, just doing things for quotas. No, these officers will be set up for peace and exactors of righteousness. And it says in verse 19, the sun shall no more be thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto you, but Yahweh shall be unto you an everlasting light, and your Elohim your glory. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for Yahweh shall be thine everlasting light. And the days of thy mourning shall be ended, and thy people also shall be all righteous, and they shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, Yahweh, will hasten it in time. This is what Yahweh said he will cause to happen. This is what Yahweh said that he will do. This is why you're going to see the King David get blessed with so much substance. All you have to do is go to the book of Psalms 89 and read about what Yahweh is going to do for the king. Because then Yahweh say this will take place once Shiloh come. Yahweh is already setting it up for the liberation. See, when you get reparations, it's not just important that you have money and that you got substance. What you going to do with this substance? Are you going to give it back to your enemies, or are you going to use it to build the houses of Yahweh and show forth the world the praises of your Elohim? This is what true reparations will look like, because this is what will be. Turn with me to the book of Zechariah, the 14th chapter. In the book of Zechariah, the 14th chapter, Let's read the 16th verse. It reads, "And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which come against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the families of Egypt go not up, and come not to, they that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite the heathens that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Because this is the praises of Yahweh. This is why it's important and imperative for it to go forth. So you know what happens when you don't have no rain? You have no substance. You have no substance, you have no wealth. You have no wealth, well, you right back in the spot of the oppressed. Because Yahweh is all about balance. Yahweh is all about substance. Yahweh is all about his praise. And if you won't come up to praise Yahweh once a year, then how you going to receive the rain of Yahweh, which is a blessing? We have to know what a blessing is. We have to know what reparation is. To have your own land. To have your ground blessed. To have your ground fertile. To have the women fertile. To have the men ready to give seed. To have the children blessed. All these are reparations. Because all your oppressors stand for is the destruction of Yah's people. And this is not what Yahweh stands for. Turn with me to the book of Jeremiah, the 16th chapter. Because like I said earlier, Yahweh is going to do something great. And it's going to be so great that Yahweh go outdo himself for what he did unto us when he delivered our people out of the house of bondage, out of the land of Egypt. And Yahweh said it's going to be something that's no longer said. So how could you, let's read this before I get to that. In Jeremiah the 16th chapter and the 14th verse, it reads, "Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that it shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he have driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers." Yahweh said the only thing that you're going to be not bragging about Egypt is because of deliverance I'm about to bring you out of now. So how could this not be the 400-year captivity Yahweh speaking about? With all that we read, with all this substance, well, when will this take place? Well, Yahweh said after this 400 years, we're going to come out with great substance. And haven't we been reading about the great substances that Yahweh has planned for his people? Yahweh going to have his mountain set up, have his house set up to show forth the praises of Yahweh. And Yahweh will beat down the foes of the enemies of the servant that he done set up. Well, my people, if this is not going to take place no time soon, then when will it take place? Because it happened in Egypt. It happened in Babylon. Why would it happen here? Turn with me to the book of Isaiah, the 16th chapter. Well, Jeremiah, well, we already went there. Turn with me to the book of Numbers, the 14th chapter. And why is it these reparations will be doled out? Why is it that Yehudah will be saved first? Because Yahweh said this in the book of Numbers, the 14th chapter and the 21st verse. He said, "But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh. My people, this is what the vision is all about. This is what the goal is all about. Why will Yehudah be saved first and redeemed first? Why will the reparations be doled out and given to Yehudah? Because Yahweh said that truly, as he lived, the earth will be filled with the glory of Yahweh. And what's any more glorious than showing forth the world the praises of Yahweh? Showing forth the abundance that Yahweh has blessed you with, the increase that Yahweh has blessed you with. So your hands are no longer closed, but they open. Your bellies are no longer hungry, but they fed. You no longer are the landless, but now you the landowner. You're not coming to the oppressors. The oppressed are coming to you. The captives are coming to you. So when you see all this substance that Yahweh has set before you, and now you have a righteous leader to rule in your midst, and he going to rule forever, man, all you got to say when you see this is praise the mighty Yah. When you in the waste howling desert, and Yahweh causes water to come out of the flint of the rock, just like he did, you can say praise the mighty Yah. If Yahweh calls manna to rain from heaven, just like he did, you can say praise the mighty Yah. And when you see your people being scattered from all four corners of the earth and now gathered back unto you like a magnet or a boomerang, man, all you can say is praise the mighty Yah. This is why Yehudah will be redeemed first, because Yehudah will show forth the praises of Yahweh. My people, this is now. Get yourself prepared. You don't think you're going to be redeemed. You may not be redeemed. You may perish like the other heathens. But if you want to show forth the praises of Yahweh, and you want to bring forth your strength and courageousness unto your Elohim, then let's dust ourselves off and prepare ourselves for the great substance that Yahweh has planned for his people. Because as our Elohim live, the earth will be filled with the glory of Yahweh. So just know your time. Know your seasons. Know what Yahweh has put before you. Know that Yahweh hasn't brought forth any vain revelations. Know your time. Know how to count. Because as Yahweh said, the sun will no longer be out the righteous light, nor the moon and stars their light. But Yahweh and his glory shall be the righteous light forevermore. And tomorrow is the dawning of a brand new day of the new month. So Yahweh will be here tomorrow morning, 5th day, 7 a.m., to give praises unto the Most High for the increase that he has shown unto his people. Because truly, Yahweh is worthy to be praised. So until tomorrow, Yahweh loves you, and so do we at the house of Israel. Shalom.
Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Praise Yah. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name.
Bless Yah, all you witnesses, do not forget his benefits. Forgives iniquities, heal the diseases in my ligaments. The Redeemer and Creator, me from dust, he know I make up, merciful and slow to anger, gracious. Only one can save us, Yah, who satisfies my mouth with good things. Bless Yah, who renews me like the eagle's wings. Bless Yah, who made his ways known unto Moses and his acts to the children of Israel, who he chosen. Bless Yah.
Bless Yah, oh my soul. Bless Yah, all his angels. Bless Yah, all his hosts. Bless Yah, all his words. Bless Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. I will bless Yah at all times. His praise shall continually be in my rhymes. Praise Yah, for unto us his glorious shine. Baruch Yah Malek, Ba Shema'im Elo Ba'aretz. Praise Yah, for he execute righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. He renewed my health like the eagle's wings. Yah fed my mouth with good things. So unto Yah his glory I sing. Yah bless.
Bless Yah, all my soul. Bless Yah, all his angels. Bless Yah, all his souls. Bless Yah, all his works.
Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy